Hello, Makerspace here, and this is lab number 8. So this is all about lemma index, and the big challenge on this assignment is a movie challenge. Lots of crazy things going on in this. Very cool, and it's now how can we combine the concept of quantitative and qualitative in a RAG pipeline for our Q&A. For this, we are going to be using our orchestration as lemma index. Embedding model is going to be OpenAI's 3 small. LLM is going to be OpenAI 3.5. Vector database is Quadrant. And we're going to be using WNB version control for our index. So setting this up, very simple, straightforward setup in terms of just your basic things. For the weights and biases, we need to set things up and then have our callback set. Then in terms of our settings, because we're using LangChain, they do have settings that need to be done ahead of time. And we are going to be using data that's coming from Wikipedia. So we're going to extract that from Wikipedia based upon these 4 films, and we're then going to put that into our Quadrant vector store. We are going to be using the OpenAI's embedding model, and once we have this set up, and this is sort of the unique idea and learnings in terms of coming into lemma index, is that you have this index, and the index is made up of these nodes. So we're going to have to chunk all these pieces together and put it into the nodes. And also we can apply metadata. So we put in the metadata of the title of the movie. Once we have that, great, we got this index, we can store it away, version it. So we use weights and biases for that. Just put that away. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to be setting things up in lemma index to create our RAG pipeline, and then we ask some questions. It comes back with some decent questions. Interesting part about this is that we have taken data from Wikipedia, and we've got this index that is a composite of data that's coming from both movies. So it's sort of interesting in terms of what type of response are we going to get. And because of that, you are going to end up with some things where it's sort of like, sandworms, really? That's not the only one. So now we are going to come up with, this is an awesome concept, is coming up with the auto retriever function tool. So part of the retriever is this concept of having and building these tools that you can tell the LLM to use when you're actually trying to get something, and based upon what it knows, even though we actually are going to be, we actually have the actual execution of this, it's going to be able to leverage that based upon the description that we provide. What we make sure is that we actually set this up, and we need to ensure that all of our titles of our films are put in there, and then we can set up the pedantic object. And once we have that set up, we want to establish the function tool. And when we can do some tests on that, and cool thing is it gives you a listing in terms of how the actual functions were called, and it comes up with some decent responses. But what if we want to actually have quantitative, so having a SQL mechanism that is going to go to IMDb and get data? So we get that all set up, and we grab that together into a SQL database, and we set this up so that we can describe how this tool is going to operate, and we can add that, and we can then